Internet's slow today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your favorite paranormal investigator. My name's Tim Sedano. This is Paranormal Insight, and that was my microphone blocking my shot there. Today on the show, I have the lady herself. Her name's Cathryn. Oh, look at there. I've been calling you Kathy the whole time. This is Cathryn Rogers coming up in here in a half a second, and we're gonna talk paranormal investigations. We're gonna talk ghost stories and other fun stuff, and I think it'll be really, really fantastic. We had a great conversation on her show last time we were together, so without further ado, here's Cathryn Rogers. Welcome to the show.
How are you? Well, thank you. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
Not at all.
I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
I love that name.
Yeah. I love the soundboard on this thing. That's great.
Right?
So, Cathryn, give us a little insight into your background.
So, I started all of this, I want to say around 2007, approximately. So, I actually got into all of this a little bizarrely. It was a little unusual. I actually want to go back. It was beyond 2007. We can get into that a little bit, I guess, a little bit later. But I would probably say the early 2000s for sure. And we actually started off with having our own haunted environment, our own haunted house. And then, and which we can talk about, but just from my background, then what happened is when my son was born, he was actually very intuitive, was able to see a lot of things. We had a lot of unusual experiences with him, even as a toddler. And that brought me into the world of paranormal investigation, which then, so I was actually a paranormal investigator for about 5 years, and we did, thousands of investigations and all of that. And we got to, experience a lot. But then I actually got into more doing readings and exploring my own psychic abilities and all of that. So yeah, that's kind of my background. So I've been doing readings for, I don't know, 15 years approximately. But
okay.
Yeah, I still consult for investigations. I usually work remotely. I don't really go to the locations because a lot of them are, somewhere else in the world. Right.
Right.
Yeah, but I work intuitively with the investigators, or I'll go, I guess, remotely to the location and kind of take a look around, and I write down what it is that I'm picking up in regards to the location itself, and then the investigators can take a look into that and we compare notes later.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds very similar to what the psychic on our team does on Scary. Looks up if you want to need help. But she does the exact same thing. If it's somewhere else in the country and even in the world, she'll do so remotely. So that's a phenomenal.
I work all over the world. I work internationally everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Remarkable gift. So did you actually do investigations then, or do you just assist on investigations?
No. So I actually started off as a paranormal investigator for, quite a few years, like 3-4 years. And then during the process of investigating, there was a lot of times, because what we used to do, especially if psychically we would pick up anything, I used to write down, basically all my observations, right? And the observations were really matching with what the homeowners had been experiencing, or with maybe perhaps I was picking up family members, or perhaps, it was other details that hadn't been brought up during the investigation. but the actual
Sure.
investigations themselves, I absolutely did do those as well. We actually, so I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, and our team at the time was called Paranormal, or Edmonton Paranormal. Um, and we actually had a really good reputation here in Edmonton. The only reason that we actually don't, investigate anymore is it's very time consuming, as we all know.
Yeah.
But we also discovered that
Yep.
there was, the thing is that there was I wouldn't say a lot of teams. There was a few teams here in Edmonton that weren't probably of the strong ethics that we demanded within our team.
Right.
And a lot of times what would
Right.
happen is these teams would go to locations, stir up a bunch of crap, charge money for their investigations, and then we had to go clean it up for free.
Sure.
So we got a little tired of it. And
Yeah.
also too, is like when you're getting phone calls at like 2-3 in the morning, of people like losing their minds, you just it can be a little exhausting, right? So we did actually
Yes.
join with T.A.P.S. So we were a part of
Oh,
T.A.P.S.
okay.
We got
You were a
asked to
T.A.P.S
work
team.
with T.A.P.S. Sorry, what's that?
I say you were part of the T.A.P.S team. That's great.
Yeah, we were, yeah. And that was quite enjoyable. And then yeah, so that's pretty much it in regards to that. Yeah.
Gotcha. So, when we're doing investigations, we didn't start out this way, but I quickly learned my lesson. As I talked about before on your show, we came up with a checklist, a series of questions that we
Mhm.
would ask of the client. Did you have similar growing pains, or were you a little more insightful?
No, so when we first okay, so when I actually joined the team itself had already probably had a year or two under their belt. So I wasn't like a founder of the actual team. I ended up becoming the president of the team after the former president left, but I wasn't the founder. So they actually had a lot of I guess, things in place that they had discovered were needed, before we went to investigations. So they had actually developed a checklist on their own before they went to the investigation, and the checklist was about 10 pages long. It was brilliant. We
Wow.
actually never had to change it. Yeah, even the time that I was there, it wasn't one of those things that we had to really adjust or change because of the way that the former creator of the team, the former founder of the team, had put it together. He actually did a really good job, or they had put it together really well. So it was a very detailed checklist that, it basically included medications, medical, any, how many TV shows that these people were watching, or
That's
maybe
incredible.
working with occult, paraphernalia, that sort
Yeah.
of thing, right? So it was a very detailed checklist.
I may need to add things to my checklist thing because I have 40 questions. It's about 2.5 pages right now.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well, the
it
thing
sounds like I
is
may need
that,
to add a few things.
but here's the thing: is one of the things that we discovered is if people didn't want to fill this out, like yes, 10 pages seems like a lot, but
Yeah.
the thing is that you're asking people to come to your home on their time voluntarily. You know what I mean? Use their money, their time, their effort, all of that.
Right.
And we're not charging
Right.
people. So at the very least, what we're asking, and there's a lot of time and effort put into each paranormal investigation. So if somebody can't take the
Sure.
time to fill out the checklist, why should I take my time, you know, to
Right.
to to do this, right? And so, there was a
I get
few
it.
people that, just refused to do it. And we were like, well,
Yeah.
that's on you.
It like Exactly. Well, yeah, the checklist helps quite a bit. I, as I mentioned before, and the reason I bring it up is because I get messages all the time about, hey, how do you do this investigation? What's your procedure list like? It's too long to tell you about over an email. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't share
But
my stuff, just cause.
well, that's
And
the thing,
but
right?
one of the
Is that a
things
lot
that
of people,
yeah,
yeah, a lot of people want to know these
I
things,
was going to
but I
say,
mean, why would you share them? Like,
yeah,
I mean, it's not that you don't want to, like, you don't mind working with another team that's already established and comparing notes. But
right,
if somebody is just starting, then it's part of the experience to gain the knowledge of doing a paranormal
yeah,
investigation. It's not a matter of just buying a tape recorder and walking into somebody's house and stirring up a bunch of crap. There's a procedure that
yeah,
that you've got to establish within yourself, and there's going to be morals and ethics that you and your team have to develop within yourselves as well, right? And just taking
yes,
and
right.
borrowing other people's isn't allowing you that process.
I get that it's a stepping stone. If I were to share that knowledge, I'll consult them,
For sure.
and we'll
Yeah.
say, oh, okay, you might want to think about that, this, that, and the other thing. But I mean, for me, developing the checklist came with a lot of trial and error, and I don't
Mhm.
have the same checklist as Taps. I don't have the same checklist as Edmonton Hunters. My approach is different compared. I mean, I was trained as a as a private investigator. I trained with actual
Mhm.
police detectives prior to getting into all this, and so my take's a little more urban, for lack of a better term. Urban doesn't even sound right now that I think of it. But I mean, I come from a criminal investigative background, and it is, that's my base, and it doesn't work for everybody because with that discipline comes a lot of emotional detachment, and a lot of times when you meet with clients, they're in tears. I've had that happen several times. They're in tears
Yeah.
over what's going on. And then there's the flip side to that. It's like, I know something's haunting this house. Like they convinced themselves before I ever step foot in the house. And, I convinced, I know there's a spirit, and it's up in the attic and it's in the north corner. I think I told you the story about the termites. It ended
Yeah.
up being, and this guy's roof was about ready to fall off his house, that type of thing. So it was, yeah, and I was like, nope, not nope, just the wind trying to blow your roof off your house, buddy. That's what's happening.
It's funny though, trying to convince people
Good
that
times.
things are normal rather than paranormal, it can be very daunting.
Yeah, it can be. It truly
Yeah.
can be. You're absolutely correct on that.
People like to be haunted.
One
I
of
mean,
the
you know what I mean? Like to some
It's
degree. Some people
strange,
like to
isn't
be
it?
haunted.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that was one of the things that we really found is that a lot of people, it because it gave them an identity, or it gave them I wouldn't say a mission per se, but I would say that it gave them an attention to like making them unusual in some sense, right?
Right.
And so I found
Some
that a lot of people really
right.
wanted that paranormal establishment, I guess is the best way to say it.
Yeah, yeah. I've run into that a few times myself. Yeah, it's like, are you sure? I'm positive your roof is about to fly off your house because of termites and not the ghosts. So, uh, maybe you
Yeah.
should get someone out here to deal with that. Um, I mean, yeah, oh, and then, have you ever? You probably have. I run into the clients that if you tell them no, it's the pipes or the ventilation or whatever. They're saying, are you sure? Are you willing to say it is a ghost? Though I said, no. If it's not a ghost, I'm not going to willing to say it is a ghost. Like you said, they want some sort of validation for their feelings versus the actual facts, and that's really saying something regarding a metaphysical interaction.
Mhm.
So I mean, come on. It's crazy. Sometimes the clients just really latch onto the idea, and
We
other times
we
they don't.
yeah. We
Go
were on a
ahead.
couple of shows and we found the producers trying to make things appear more than, and we were
Right.
like, mm-mm,
Goose the
sorry,
results.
but we're not playing with this shit. Sorry, excuse my language, but
Yeah,
that we're
no,
not we're not
that's
doing
a,
that. So yeah, they had to
mm,
stop, and it
no.
was
I'm
like
with
they
you.
really did.
I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah. It was not. It's just ethically, it's just not how we operated, right? So
No, and I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm a filmmaker myself in the independent world, but I mean, you run into that all the time if you get some even some mediocre mid-level producers come in and say, "Oh, we got to change the results. We have to, you know, goose things up a level or two." And it's like, "No, well, listen, I mean, there's stuff we can do to maybe make something happen. But I'm not going to falsify any results." So I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. The funny part is that the house that we went to, like the house that, because they had said to us, like, could you choose a house that you feel would have the most paranormal activity in order for us to film there? And we actually chose a house, funny enough, that every time we had gone there was wild with activity, except for this night. And it just went, nope.
except
We're like, nope, we are not
except when
playing
all the
this game.
cameras showed up.
Yeah, yeah, it was like
That's kind of
and
funny.
so, we were like, "Okay, well, I guess I guess they're sleeping." I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. You came out the wrong night.
Yeah, because any other
Or
time, we
I
would
heard of someone. Right, exactly. Yeah, I've heard of another team where they, gosh, what was it? It was something really specific. It was like a loop haunting, um, or a recursive kind of a
Oh,
loop, like
okay,
a
yeah,
like a loop haunting, and
yeah.
it happened every. It was like weekly. It was strange. It happened every Saturday at like 3 a.m. But for whatever reason, the taping crew, couldn't make that happen. They had to cut out by Saturday midnight. So they said, "Well, let's just try and recreate it." And I said, "No, no, 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 can't do that. Can't do
Yeah.
that." But then the team was like, they were having a conversation, team leader and the producer, and they said, "Listen, we'll do that only if you say this is a recreation." And they didn't say it when they played it on air. They played it off as the real deal. Oh,
Oh,
dirty pool.
no.
Dirty pool. Horrible.
Yeah.
And it crippled the reputation a little bit too, because people found out. Well, they were also very honest with their online community. They said, listen, this is not what happened. And this was supposed to be a demonstration of what people have experienced, not taken as an actual experience. So it was
Yeah.
hmm,
Sneaky little
just
people, hey?
horrible. So the the I guess the worst of it is whenever you try and engage in a larger audience through television or whatever, you're always going to face that pressure from this weird production angle. And again, I'm in film, I get it. You need to goose your numbers and your ratings and your visibility and all that fun stuff, but not when it comes to this stuff, because the blowback, and we've witnessed this too, at least I have, the blowback when you do falsify all this stuff in a legitimately haunted location is insane. The spiritual
Mhm.
attacks just ramp up because all these hitchhikers come home,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and they mess with people. It's horrible.
They sure do. It's
Yeah.
it's funny when they have more ethics than some of the people, hey?
Right. Too right. Too right. When okay, so let me ask you this, a typical thing I ask. When you were out in the field doing your work, what was your best and or scariest case?
Oh, goodness. Okay. So one of the ones that, I mean, I have two. And the reason I have two is because they're so wildly different. But the first I would have to say
Okay.
would be my own home. Okay, because we actually never really experienced the activity in other people's homes that we did in our own home. And so when people say like, how did you get started? Well, this was it. Like this was like a scene from, where you watch horror movies and the whole family is sleeping in one room. That was us. And
Oh, sure.
so
Okay.
it was getting quite extreme. And it was interesting because when we first bought the house, so I was still married when we bought the house. And it was funny because we were painting one of the bedrooms, and both of my daughters were sitting sort of on the door, the threshold of the door. They had been playing throughout the day, sort of running around the house outside in the backyard. And we were just finishing up on this one room, kind of getting the last wall or whatever. But we had like a one of those old jute boxes, like those old music or whatever, like what do you boom box, kind of playing in one of the bedrooms. And
I get you.
yeah, and so while we were finishing up, I noticed that the music wasn't playing anymore. I didn't really pay like I did, how you notice it, but you're not like really like it's not a big deal. Like you're not, oh my gosh, gotta go turn on. It wasn't like that. Like I noticed that it had
Right.
shut off, or I noticed that it wasn't on or whatever. Um and so anyway, I went in. I like to have it because we had two houses. So we were working on one house and then we would go back to our other house, right? And so we were cleaning everything up. And like I said, the girls were sort of sitting, on the threshold there. And I started unplugging whatever we had plugged in, like the coffee maker. And I went to go unplug the boom box. And I walked into the bedroom and it was unplugged already. But the cord was laying on top of the boom box, right? So it was like, how like you have the box and the cord is like on top of it. So it was like somebody unplugged it and put it on top of and I was like, okay. And I didn't really think much of it. I was like, okay, that's unusual. But I walked into the bedroom and I said, the most unusual thing. And my ex-husband looks at me and he says, if you tell me that the box was unplugged, I am not moving in here. And I went, okay. that was the end of that conversation, right? But then like that was literally it. Like that's all we said. So we never really talked about it anyway. So we probably lived in that house for about 5 years, but the last two we had gotten separated, and he wasn't in the house. He didn't have keys to the house, anything like that. But the weirdest thing is that things really started happening, and it was really scary, to be honest. So one of
Huh.
the things that would one of the things that started, so my girl, so this is basically how everything kind of came together, is my oldest daughter at the time was about 12, and my youngest daughter was about 5 or 6. So 11 and 12,
Okay.
5 or 6, somewhere in there. And
Sure.
my oldest one had a friend spend the night. And so in the process, so I would hear them as they were playing. It was like a bungalow. So it was an older bungalow house. It was probably built in let's say 64, I think it was. And I heard the girls, and they like, I would hear them do something, and then all of a sudden you would hear them running down the hallway, and they would laugh, and then they ran back down the hallway, and they would scream, and then they ran away again. I was like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, I'm trying to watch TV here. Like, what are you doing? You know, and you're waking up your sister at the same time because she's little and she had already gone to bed. And they said, Mom, you've got to see this. This is so freaky. Like, you're going to freak out when you see this. And I said, okay, what? Well, they had taken she had taken her sister's Barbie dolls. And because my youngest one had this big, like, Tupperware bin of Barbie dolls, right? And so they would take a Barbie doll and they would put it at the end of the hallway. So against, let's say, the door or something at the end of the hallway. And then they ran away. And then she said, like, when you go back, you'll see that the Barbie doll has moved. I'm like, what? And she's like, Mom, you seriously, you got to watch this. So sure as shit, they put a Barbie doll at the end of the hallway. And then we all went into the living room and we went back. And the Barbie doll was probably about a foot away from the door that they had put it.
Oh.
Yeah. And
okay.
I was like, okay, something is like, what? So like, is the floor slanted? Like, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? So then I was like, okay, I really don't know what to think about this. Like, you're not exactly, like, your brain's not processing all of this at this point. And so I went into the washroom, had to use the bathroom, and I had left the door open just probably about that much. And so I'm going to try to, the wall's here, and there's a small hallway, and then the door's here, and it was open about half an inch or so. And you got to remember, this is an older house, so you can hear footsteps. Like, if you know what I mean, like, it's one of those houses, like, if somebody's walking down the hallway, you hear it. You're not going to miss it. Nobody can tiptoe in this house. You're not getting away with anything in this home, right? And so when I opened the door, so they had put the Barbie on the far wall across from the bathroom. And when I opened the door, the Barbie was right in front of the door. And I went, oh shit. Yeah, like, honestly, it gives you like that, oh my gosh, right? So anyway, the girls all of a sudden got a little bit, they got spooked out. Like, all of a sudden they were like, I didn't, even when I saw the Barbie, I didn't really react to it because, like, as a parent, the worst thing I can do is, like, overreact to something, or even sometimes to react, right? Like, you just kind of go, okay, well, that's really weird. You know,
right. Play it off.
You know, like, how do I react to this? So anyway, so my parents actually lived in the house next door to us. We had actually bought the house next door to my parents. So my daughter said, would it be okay if we went and slept at Grandma and Grandpa's? And I said, yeah, absolutely, go right ahead. And at this point, I don't blame them, right? Like, I probably would too. So I had to go to work the next day. And my mom would babysit the kids for me. So the girls were going to be there anyway. And I brought my youngest daughter over there. Anyway, at the end of the day, I come home, I open the door. Tim, I swear to God, I've never been so scared, probably in my entire life at that moment. There was Barbie dolls from one end of the house to the next. And like I said, my daughter had this huge Tupperware bin, and I'm talking like one of those great big, massive tubs of Barbie dolls, right? And there was Barbie dolls everywhere. So there was Barbie dolls in the corners. There was Barbie dolls between the taps in the kitchen, like in the bathroom, I should say, in between on the sink. They were on the ceiling fan. There was on the refrigerator. There was just Barbie doll everywhere. And so I phoned my mom, right? I phoned my mom and I said, tell Michelle and her friend to get over here right now and clean up this freaking mess. Like, I was mad, right? Because I thought that they were trying to freak me out. And my mom says, Kathy, they hadn't been there all day. In fact, I can't get them to, like, go into another room on their own. They're driving me crazy. She's like, they've been beside me every moment since last night. Like, whatever happened, they're terrified. And so I said,
Okay.
"So nobody's been in the house?" And they're like, she's like, "No, like they haven't left my site at all except to use the
Mm,
bathroom." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And she goes, "I'll send them
right.
home because I could use a break." But yeah, they haven't been over there. So they walk in, and you can see on my daughter's face that she was terrified. Just the look on her face as soon as she walked in
Wow.
and saw these Barbie dolls, that was it. She was terrified. And so it was one of those things where you're going, "Oh my gosh, what is it that we're dealing with now?" And so the things just started increasing from there. I remember at one point I was
Oh,
making
really?
supper, and my youngest one, like I said, she was about 5, maybe going on to 6 at that time. She was in the bedroom, in her room, and all of a sudden she comes running out, and she's pure white, and she's shaking, and she's like, "There's a little girl in my room. She's jumping on my bed." And she's just like, she's shaking, like, but the thing is, she's pure white. Like, that she's not, you know what I mean? Like she's, the
Yeah,
eyes are
I
big.
do.
She's just losing her mind. And so things just kept
Oh,
increasing like
man.
that. So basically one day we were in the bathroom. I was in the bathroom and I was getting ready for work. And we very rarely went anywhere within the house on our own for the most part. Like if I was watching TV, the girls would probably fall asleep in the living room with me. And then I would take them,
Oh,
to my room after, or,
sure.
like, just we were terrified of kind of being alone in the house. And a lot of times my
Yeah.
oldest would probably go to my mom's house a lot of times as well. But anyway, I
Mm.
remember we were in the bathroom, and she was on the floor playing, and I was getting ready for work. And we could hear this shuffling in the living room. And I thought right away it was my dog, which is a whole nother story. But I thought right away it was our dog. you know? And we walked in there into the living room, and this is the time of the VCR tapes. You know what I mean? So the videotapes were stacked up in the
Sure.
middle of the floor. And I was like,
Oh,
"Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Okay."
wow. That is
And
straight up poltergeist activity.
it was 100% poltergeist activity.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so the thing is that you got to remember, this is like the 90s, right? Like the late 90s, early 2000s. There is no
Okay.
such thing as ghost hunters. There's no paranormal investigators. The only thing that I could find at that time was maybe if you wanted to call a medium or whatever at like a
Oh,
large
sure.
amount of money, that kind of thing. I wasn't prepared for that. So what I pretty much did is I sold the house. I just went, "I'm
Okay.
done. I'm done. Yeah, I'm done." Actually, funny enough, when I made the decision to
Wow.
sell the house, I phoned up my mortgage broker, and I said, "Look, I'm just checking into, what I qualify for. I'm going to sell this house. I want to get a new house, blah, blah, give me all the deets, right?" And
Yep.
when they found out the area that I was in, she said, "We've actually got somebody who will buy the house, sight unseen, 5,000 above market value." And I went, "Sold.
Oh,
We're done. I'm
yeah.
done. Absolutely 100% sold."
Yeah.
Right? And I'm good with that. I don't have to put the house on the market. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is pack and get the hell out of here. So I did that. And
Gotcha.
but it like, I'm not, it was getting pretty crazy, like just before we left. Like, it was getting really, really wild. And the story with the dog is,
Wow.
this is kind of, we did have 2 dogs. So one of the dogs was really good. He really wasn't bothered a whole lot by the activity. Every once in a while he would lift his head and growl, but it was kind of like he would growl and you could see him
Okay,
watching
gotcha.
something, but then he would kind of go back to what he was doing, and that was the end of that. But this other dog we got, my daughter actually ended up getting a brand new Barbie. My youngest one, she got a brand new Barbie from one of her aunts, and she was opening it up. And
Okay.
the interesting thing is that the dog all of a sudden reacted. He's never reacted like this. He had never reacted like this in the past. And he went and stood beside her as she's opening up this Barbie. And it was almost as though you could see his eyes like change or something. He reacted in some way. And you gotta, the thing is where this is so important is that my daughter, my youngest, is like, she was like Snow White. You know, if there was a bird or a bug or a rabbit somewhere in 50 miles, it's going to find my daughter. Like, you know what I mean? She was like, animals loved her. They followed her. They adored her. So to see this reaction from this dog, it was all of a sudden he got violent, like just boom, just like this. As she was opening up this Barbie doll, he completely lost his mind. And we ended up having to take him to the Humane Society because we could not keep him. He was only violent with her. But I think what happened is as she was opening up this Barbie, I think that whatever was in the house, obviously with the whole Barbie history, may have stood beside her or came to see what it was or somehow interacted with it, and it made the dog react. Because and it was interesting because when we took it to the Humane Society, they just wanted to see how it was going to react. And so they said, okay, let's just kind of do an experiment. And she said, I've never seen this before. I've never seen an animal react like this. It was almost like his eyes just switched over. And when my daughter walked in, but the funny thing is like I said, every animal that, like, I can't even tell you how much like animals love this girl. Even now that she's 30, you know what I mean? Like animals just adore her. Yeah. So, but it was just so bizarre. So anyway, yeah, we sold the house, and I would have to say that was probably my scariest experience.
Okay.
But then there was this other one where we had gone to investigate at this house, and then we had a few things happen definitely throughout the at one point we were there was already a crew at the house investigating, and I was with another investigator, and I was on my way over there, and they said that they heard us knocking at the door and they thought that we had arrived, but when the door opened, nobody was there. And that was just before we got there. But one of the interesting things, it was really wild. One of the interesting things was, though, is that when we were there, we went into the basement, me and another investigator. And the wild thing is that as we were upstairs, I kept having this feeling. I was like, I need to go to the basement. I need to go to the basement. I don't know why, but I need to go to the basement. I need to go. And I kept getting this feeling. And so I started packing up my stuff. Like I grabbed, my camera, my recorder, and the other investigator, he says, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to go downstairs. And he's like, no, you're not going by yourself. You're not going by yourself. And I said, okay, well, whatever. You can come with me. I don't care. So we went downstairs, and this was an open layout, not empty. It was like a basement, but it wasn't finished basement. So they had a bunch of stuff down there, but it was a massive basement. Okay. There was one bedroom, like one bedroom where the son would sleep, the son of these people. And so we were sitting in the middle of this big empty basement, and we could see the light from upstairs, when you come down the stairs and you flip the light on, and we could see all the people coming down, like our other investigators. There was like 3 or 4 of them, and they were standing there talking about where are they? Where would they have gone? And we're like, hello, hello, we're right here. No reaction from them. In fact, they went right back upstairs. And you could hear them say, well, maybe they went outside. And we're like, like we're right here. We are right here. So then we said, whatever. We went into that bedroom, the son's room, and I was
Yeah.
sitting on the bed, and he was on the floor, and all of a sudden the door opened, but then it closed again, and there was no one there. And we were,
Huh.
and of course, we're like, "Did you catch?" But the funny thing is that the damn tape, of course, and the tape recorder just finished.
Of
So
course.
we were about to go upstairs, of course, right? We were about to go upstairs to
Right.
change it out anyhow. So we were pretty much like, so anyway, apparently as we got upstairs, well, when we got upstairs, everybody was just pissed. Like they were mad. Like, where the hell were you? And they thought that we were hiding, or I don't know what they thought that what was happening. And we're trying to
Okay.
explain to them we were literally in the basement. Like, here's the tape. Watch, you can, like, we were right there. You can see us calling you, right? And then
Hmm.
apparently, with that door
That's
opening, was
insane.
one of the investigators looking for us. And she said that she opened the door, she looked in the bedroom, she couldn't see anyone. So she just closed the door and
Oh,
went back upstairs. So
it's
how bizarre is that? So when we talk about it really didn't hit me until later, because this sounds very benign right now. But the thing is that when you think
yeah.
about it, what if I had gone down by myself, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I would have been literally alone down there. And what if people couldn't find me? You know what I mean? So that's where I
Hmm.
started being like, oh my gosh, like I kind of started getting the shakes a little bit, because you realize this could have been a really serious incident.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. That sounds like you went into an alternate dimension almost, like an alternate reality. Where
Yeah.
they weren't there, and you still saw like, but there was some interaction.
Yeah.
Oh my
And we couldn't
gosh, you
see
may
them.
have just answered a bunch of questions. I mean,
Yeah, it was so weird. But the thing is that one of the complaints from the family, and one of the reasons that we were there, is the mother was saying about the son whose room this was that we were in, is that he couldn't hear. He was always claiming that he couldn't hear anybody, and
hmm.
they kept thinking that he was
Wow.
sneaking out at times throughout. And so when we explained this, they were like, you know, because this kid was
Yeah.
like swearing up and down, I did not leave. I was not sneaking out. I was right there. I was right here. I can't see you. I can't hear you. And so we were actually able to
Wow.
validate that for them.
That's incredible. That is incredible.
Yeah.
It's like I said, a big hello to Sherry and Scouse for joining us in the chat. Sherry, I don't know if you got my message from before, but I said hi. Um, one of the one of the things that strikes me again is the whole alternate dimension thing. It's like
Yeah.
you may have just single-handedly answered a bunch of ghost issues. It's like people see the door opening and closing. In the reality you slipped into, you didn't see anyone, but on the other side of things, they were actually there. So that could be ghost activity where the veil's super thin. And for lack of a better term, for lack of a better explanation, either, I think you may have perhaps proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, with very few exceptions, the existence of parallel dimensions and realities.
Absolutely.
Because that's in physics, that's how it's described.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you can interact with the same thing, but if you're at the precipice of those two interacting realities, you may be able to physically touch something and move it, but the other side won't perceive you as an individual.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
I know.
I
It,
mean,
like, honestly, it was so wild, and absolutely terrifying at the same time, because at first you're thinking like, what
yeah.
the heck? what's wrong with these people? Like, we're right here. We're right here.
Yeah,
How
I mean,
can
you're
you not?
flagging them down, and you got it on tape. So, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
wish you had those
And they
videos.
were
That would be
they
great.
were so pissed at us. Like they were so upset. And one of them, the
Yeah.
funny part is that the guy that I was with, his wife, was upstairs. So of course she's like, well, where the hell's my husband and this woman? Right. So they're
This
like
strange
right
woman that
away.
just walked in the door.
Right. Well, I mean, we were on the same team, but I mean, it was, you know what I mean? It was kind of like,
Yeah,
you
I get
can't
it.
help but assume
I
that,
get it.
there's something because we just disappeared. We were just gone. Like, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
So I would
That's
have to
just
say
absolutely
those
incredible.
two. Yeah. And and it's funny because like even though you remember other investigations, I would have to say that was probably the one that's always foremost on my mind for sure.
I don't blame you. That's a remarkable experience. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I am blown away by that. Just blown away. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, that is fantastic. Yeah, if that were my story, I keep that one queued up all the time too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
It's one of those
man.
experiences that you wouldn't really want to experience again. Like it was like, I don't want to try to
Oh,
relive this
interesting.
ever again.
I was gonna say, have you ever gone back? But I guess not.
We actually did go back. We actually did go back. The second time we went back, though, it was almost like it was a different house. Like energetically, it was quiet.
Wow.
It was
I
silent.
mean,
It was like everything just sort of, you know, like it was a completely different environment. Like it was wild. Yeah, that we really had nothing, and it was
was it active? Did you have more activity?
none. None. The second time we went, there was literally no activity whatsoever. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe
And
you,
you gotta
but I
then
mean,
you gotta
wow.
think, well, maybe if it was another dimension, maybe it moved or shifted.
They say it's kind of like the Northern Lights, so it'll waver, and the boundaries will change pretty,
Yeah.
within a given
Well, the first night,
geography. So that
like the first time we went there,
I'm sorry.
it was very, very active. Like there was a lot of things that, going on. And like I said, the door, where they thought that we had showed up or they thought that we were at the door, but nobody was there. And it was a fresh snowfall.
Right.
So there was no
Hmm.
footprints, no evidence of somebody, anything like that. Like you would have been able to see the footprints and everything, but it was very clear. But then when we were sitting in the living room, so there was me and another investigator, and her and I were sitting there, and we were sort of all spread out throughout the home in different areas. And her and I were doing an investigation, and all of a sudden we heard bang, 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 right on the wall. And it was loud, like
Hmm.
crazy loud. And both of us, scream a little bit. But
You freak out.
yeah, but we definitely didn't expect that whatsoever. Like not as loud as it was. But it was a very, very active home that whole night. And then yeah, the second time we went back, nothing. Not one damn thing.
Now, had the client expressed that as well? That sometimes it's really active, and other times it's dead quiet.
No, for them it was I wouldn't say that it was always active. I don't know if they really noticed a lot of the activity except for the fact that they were really concerned about their son, because of the fact
Hmm.
that he was experiencing these things in the basement. There had been other things that they had noticed in different areas, but I wouldn't say that it was like one of those home. It wasn't like the home that I was living in where it was like pretty much active like all the freaking time. This was a little bit different, right? It was like,
Okay.
somebody's keys might go missing once in a while, or you might have this experience once in a while. You might have that experience once in a while. So they were more, could you
Hmm.
please check this out while we're on vacation? Here's the keys. Have at it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, and so, and they were actually the owners of a popular restaurant chain as well, so this was quite a large home, and,
Okay.
so we basically had, access to it while they were gone, and so the first night that we went, yeah, it was really active, and then just before they came back, we had gone again. Nothing really had happened, not a whole lot. But after they came back and we explained to them all of the things that we had experienced, literally there was nothing after that. Nothing. It was quite crazy. Like we had gone back for a third
Wow.
time and there was nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Hi, Heidi.
That's amazing. Heidi's here. How's it going, Heidi? I misspoke there. Sorry, I'm typing to her individually. Um, the man, that case is just amazing, and it's not the only time I've heard something like that. There was a case, I think, I want to say Ohio, which has been lighting up lately. Like in the last month, it was nothing but Ohio and Bigfoot and UFOs. It was crazy, and then it moved into Canada. I don't know if you knew about that or not, but
No.
just above Ohio, yeah, it moved in this flap of sightings, UFO and Bigfoot sightings, just moved into Canada, and I forget what province is right above
Probably Saskatchewan
Ohio.
or Manitoba. I
Shoot,
can't remember.
might be Manitoba. That sounds about right to me. Um,
Hmm.
as far as reports, if anyone in the chat knows, I wouldn't mind the help. But yeah, I moved into Canada, and that's the last I heard of it. It was,
Oh, okay. I have not
it was,
heard anything
yeah.
about that.
Oh, interesting. Ontario, someone. Thank you, Herb's
Okay.
here. Hillbilly Herb's here. Thank you so much.
You would think I would know
So
this,
I
but I
guess
don't really know the United States like as much as I know.
that
Obviously.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I moved into Ontario. I don't know why Saskatchewan said sounded right, but it did at the time. Moved into Ontario, and then it kind of reports petered out. I don't know why, but they did. So it was it
That's
was
Linda's
crazy.
territory. That's Linda's territory. Maybe she can deal with them. Maybe she.
Oh, maybe she can. I'll ask her about that.
Yeah.
But there was it was just amazing. But going back to the story I heard was, and I think this was Ohio. Could be wrong, but and I've told the story before. Yeah, migrating through the Great Lakes is what Hillbilly Herb said. Yep, totally. I That makes sense. There's a migration pattern here between here in California, around where the Patty film, Patterson Gimlin film was filmed originally back in the '60s.
Okay.
Between here, a little bit south of there, Ben Lomond, which is not too far from me, and then clear up into Vancouver. There's a
Okay.
huge migratory pattern that some researchers have been able to track. And
Yeah.
apparently Washington, somewhere in Washington State, is kind of the mating ground. It's really fascinating. They find a bunch of nests there and stuff like that.
Really? I've actually heard that we've had
Yeah.
on our show we've had, Bigfoot hunters or Sasquatch, whatever. Um and
Yeah.
that seems to be a very active region, especially in through around Vancouver. And but yeah, definitely around like Washington State, Seattle, just outside of Seattle, a lot of like forest
Mhm.
areas, that kind of thing. Going up into
Yeah.
BC, definitely. Yeah. Really interesting.
Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And thank you for correcting me, BC. I mean, it does go through Vancouver, but or near there. But it's just amazing stuff. But going back to my original story, for those who missed it, we're talking about alternate dimensions that have been experienced, and I've told this story on the show before, so at the risk of repeating myself, I'm not sure of the year. I think it's the 50s or 60s maybe even a little bit later. Um, but a farmer's in the back 40. He's trimming. He's getting rid of the old growth. I think it's corn, and they don't know what happens specifically, but something got him off his tractor, and he didn't turn off his tractor. Because when the family goes looking for him, well after last light, it's dusk, it's dark out, they find the tractor running on fumes, sputtering and stuff like that. And they call out for the husband, and they hear him. I'm right here. I'm right here. But I need help. But they can't see him or hear. I mean, they can hear him, but they can't see him. Similar to your basement.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Stairway Yard will get the sheriffs. So the police come out, and suddenly it's a 2 or 3 day search. They're going to, is he in a cavern? And maybe it's echoing up, through to where this thing is. But no, nothing. I'm still here. The family refuses to give up anything. They stay out there. They make camp out there, and
Mm.
his voice gets more and more faint, and they think he finally succumbs to I don't know, lack of water, lack of food, everything else,
For sure.
and they never find him. They never find him, and he was declared dead just legally, but they never found a body. So he was just suddenly working the cornfield, and then he was gone. And it's
Isn't
it's a
that just
sad tale. Sorry to bring the
yeah.
room down.
That's
it,
just
it
bizarre.
you know
Well, that's one of the reasons though, once I got home and you start rethinking about the night, and that's where
yeah
it really started hitting me. And I was like, holy shit, like something serious could have really happened. Like, when you're in it at that time, you're not really thinking anything too much about it. I mean, it's a unique experience. It's definitely different, kind of mind blowing, the whole bit. But I was telling my daughter about it, and my daughter, she was like, Mom, please, please, please don't ever, don't ever go to that house and be alone. Please, Mom, please. And she's like almost on the verge of
yeah
tears. She's like, please, please don't ever, ever do this. Like, do this for me. And I
right
said, after that experience, I can't imagine wanting to ever investigate on my own ever. Like that would be, you know what I mean? It was one of those do not
yeah
do kind of things, like you know what I mean? Because it was just so, yeah, you think about it afterwards and you're like, oof. And especially because when I was sitting there before I went downstairs, remember, I kept getting this feeling, go to the basement, go to the basement, go to the basement. And it kept replaying. And I was like getting really drawn to going down there. So it was like a strong pull. And I would have gone on my own if
mm.
if the other investigator didn't say, hey, 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 where are you going? You know?
Well, I'm
So
glad they had that foresight and made you go with someone.
yeah.
That was good. It's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. But it's interesting because it's almost like you were being lured down there is how I felt afterwards. You know what I mean? Like I was being like,
Right.
yeah,
And
enticed
I can
about.
only imagine that that's similar to the farmer. Something called him off that tractor because his
Yeah.
discipline says to turn off the tractor, then investigate. But he hopped off and left it running. Way out of
Yeah.
character for him, apparently, according to the story.
Yeah.
So something, some sort of lures in place. Who knows? I mean, it's
Mhm.
just crazy, just crazy.
Exactly. So wild.
It's very wild. And on that wild note, we are going to take a bit of a break. It'll be a little unconventional, so let me mute you, Catherine. I'll mute myself, and then we'll do the whatchamacallit, station identification and a couple of commercials.
Sure.
Okay? All right, see you in a few. So this will take about a minute or two. And we are back. As soon as okay, there we go. Hold on. I promise I know how to work this stuff. Apparently, can you hear me okay out there? Can you hear me? Okay, good. Good. So apparently the playback doesn't go through the thing. I had to push the microphone into the computer so people could hear stuff. Good times. Love technology. I got to figure that out because, man, that is just freaking bonkers. Anyway, so my apologies for that. We did have not the commercial. Yeah, I understand. Not until the last minute when I finally. Anyway, special hello and thank you to Oracle Intuitions who joined us. Thanks for joining us in the chat. Fantastic to see you here. Anyway, so we were loosely talking about alternate dimensions and experiences, your experience with that, which is fantastic. For me, the ones that stand out, or it was the I had one with classic poltergeist activity, including moving I think I've told everyone this story, but moving a big 25-pound dog feeder, those feeders with the bottles and stuff, 25 pounds, moved right into the middle of the kitchen. And that's a weird thing about poltergeists. They love to stack things and put them in the exact center of a given room or space, which is, to my knowledge, never been fully explained. Do you have any thoughts on that?
In regards to poltergeists, or how they can move so much, or which part?
No, what that weird, I don't know, obsessive behavior to stack things in the middle of a given space. I mean perfectly. Because when the dog dish moved, one more time.
I think they like attention, because when my videotapes were stacked up, that's literally where they were, is in the middle of the living room. And so I was like you cannot miss them. And I think that to some degree, I think that is the whole the whole thing behind them. It's like they definitely make it obvious, right? Like, it's not like you can miss it.
Yeah.
I got a question for you though. So for me, with when it comes to the term poltergeist, I guess, and I don't know from, but how I always viewed poltergeist was, basically it was a manifestation of something that may have been created within a person themselves. So, like, let's say, for instance, like, poltergeist activity kind of appears like adolescents, like teenage girls, especially, maybe hormonal or menopausal women. It doesn't need to be teenage girls, but teenagers. But it's basically a manifestation of somebody's own energy. So, and I've noticed that there's different terms for it. And then there's poltergeist. People use the term also for like a very noisy or active spirit. So how do you view it? Like, how do you view it?
For me, it's a little more academic, I guess you could say, that these entities, poltergeists, if you will, have specific things they do, things in the center of the room. And Hillbilly Herb makes an excellent observation that it's easier to put things in the middle of a room than, say, stack them in the corner. True. I will. Yeah, absolutely. That is very true. I will say this, however, when the dog dish moved, my partner at the time, Henry, in Scary, he super scientific guy. He said, "I want to measure something." Tim. It's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead." So he measures. He measures the room. Then he measures the cross section where the dog dish landed, and he says, "Tim, This thing is exactly, and I mean down to the millimeter, exactly in the center of the kitchen.
Really?
And you can eyeball that, but to have him measure it out and say, I couldn't place this any better unless I had like laser levels telling me where this thing
Yeah.
goes. I was like, oh wow, okay, that's saying something. So it was, yeah, almost computer controlled. Hillbilly says, yeah, it's fascinating. It could be a Matrix thing if you want to go that direction. But it was the level of accuracy has that level of accuracy, I should say, has been reported repeatedly where there has been noted poltergeist activity, and
Mhm.
usually it's multiple things being physically being done, including that thing we all saw it in. We've seen it throughout every horror movie pretty much ever made, but the one that stands out in my head is I
Poltergeist?
see dead people.
Oh,
Oh gosh,
Sixth Sense.
like that movie, Sixth Sense. So the kid does this, and he looks back, and all the doors and drawers are open, whereas just before everything was closed. And we documented that. I say we paranormal investigators over throughout the world have documented that to one degree or another. And it's just amazing. So for me, it's massive physical manipulation or exacting physical manipulation, where you can even. There was a one experiment someone did. It's like they said when they turn off the light, all the chairs move to the center of the room. So these investigators did that, and they have it on tape. I wish I had. I wish I knew we were going to be talking about this. I would have pulled up the tape. But he goes click 1, 2, 3, counts it out, and during his countdown, you hear all these chairs scooting across the stone floor. And when he flips the light back on, all the chairs are gathered
Wow.
exactly and stacked, geometrically stacked in just a ways to where it's a tower of chairs
Jeez.
in the middle of the room. And it, I don't know. I'm at a loss to explain it because there was no one else in the room. Yeah,
That is so wild.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, it's true. Yeah,
for
the poor
sure,
mama there
hillbilly.
pretty much had a breakdown.
Yeah, she did, and I don't necessarily blame her. But okay, so let me ask you something about your powers, kind of relating to that movie a little bit. Is do you see spirits?
So when I first started, the I would say when I first really kind of opened up to seeing, so you got to understand is that when I was younger and growing up and as a teenager and even into my early 20s, I always could sense things like, but, but we also come from a generation, or I came from a generation where this was not a popular thing to talk about, or people would think that you were
Yeah,
right
yeah,
whacked in the head, so you had to be
sure,
very. But I remember there was times where I'd be sitting there, and there was a lot of times where I couldn't understand why other people didn't see or feel what I did. Like, for instance, when the phone would ring, this was before, a call display, before when this was when the phone would ring and you'd have to answer it like a real person, without knowing who it was. But, but for me, a lot of times when the phone rang, it was like I could hear who it was. I could hear it in my head. And
oh,
so there was a lot of times where I would say to my roommate, like, your mom's on the phone. Or I would know it was my grandma, or I could tell that it was my mom. I could feel it, or I just could hear it, or whatever it was. I knew who it was, right? Um, but I thought that that was abnormal for you guys not to hear it. Like, I didn't think of myself
hmm,
as being different. I was just like, you're clueless, like, how come you're not? You know what I mean?
Obviously,
Yeah.
that's your mom's ring.
What's that?
And that's before we had assigned ringtones to people. Way
Yeah,
before. So
exactly. That's
yeah, if it's
exactly
just a
it. Like it
landline
was,
ringing.
this was just real regular phone, kind of thing. But so that's, so I could always feel things, or I always knew things, or whatever it was. And I remember all of my friends would bring their boyfriends to come and meet me, and I never really thought about it at the time, but they would tell me afterwards, so what do you think about him? What do you get from him? I'm like, I don't
Ah,
know. I think I don't know if I would waste my time on this person. And they would be, and you know what I mean, but they never really like specify, right? So it was little things like that. But then um so I remember, like, there was so many times where something would happen. I remember at parties, and a friend of mine had told me this again as we were older, as adults, but in high school, she said, or she said to me, like, again as we were an adult, but she said, remember when we would go to parties? And I said, yeah, I don't know. She goes, people would always watch you, and if you got up to leave, party was done. And I was like, why? And she goes, because if you left, the cops were either coming or something was about to happen. Because I would just, and I remember that too. I remember I would just get up and I would be like, okay, I got to go home. See you, catch you later. But I was like, I just had a feeling like I got to go. I got to go. I might not know what was happening, but I got to go.
sure.
Time for
You were the
time.
early warning system.
Yeah, and so she said people would, because after the first few times, people would watch me, because if I got up to go, party's done. Okay, just go,
That's it.
right? Yeah,
Kathy's
things like
leaving. It's time to end it.
yeah, time to end this. I mean, I probably could have taken that I was super popular, but no, it was just the freaky girls going out. She's leaving now. Go, you just follow her.
At least they didn't
But
tease you about it too. At least I don't think. I hope they didn't.
no,
Because they,
no.
they relied on you. That was great. That
But
was great.
the weird thing was is that I think that I was seeing things as a teenager without really like fully understanding, because I remember, and now this was back in the day, when have a little bit of, smoke a little bit of stuff, like something mild like hash or whatever it was at the time. You know what I mean? Nothing like, I was never a druggie, or I was never, into anything. I never tried anything hard. I think the most I've ever done is like, had some hash or whatever back in the day. But I remember being on the bus, and
Yeah.
we used to have to take the bus everywhere. And I remember having this amazing conversation with this man, and he was like this black man. He had like afro hair. He was amazing to talk to. We had the best freaking conversation. But I remember my friends being like, what the hell are you doing? And I was like, what? And they were like, who the hell are you talking to? And I'm like, are you guys stupid? Like, they're right there. Like, you know what I mean? And we had the best conversation. I completely ignored what my friends were saying, and I just let them kind of babble about. But him and I had the best conversation. But the thing, he was absolutely real. And I remember other, parties or whatever that I would go to, and I would literally be like babbling away and having the best conversations. But it wasn't until later on that I realized, like, yeah, maybe I was actually having conversations, but nobody else could see who I was talking to, because I was never that high, or I was never that drunk, or I was never, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Now,
I thought I was.
did your friends actually say to you, there was no one there who you were talking to, or
Yeah, like
did they just
but I
kind
thought I told
leave
them
it?
they're being extremely rude. Like, for me, it was extremely rude. We weren't on the bus for a long period of time. It wasn't like we were on for an hour or anything like that. It was probably, you know, 15, 20 minutes. You know what I mean? And it was just a really good
Okay.
conversation. And we were just babbling about something pretty, mild or whatever. But for me, it was a great conversation, right? Talking to this guy. Same as it with at parties. Like I would be like babbling away. And I think they probably just thought I was drunk, but I really wasn't because I was never really into like alcohol or drugs or anything like that. Like I said, a little bit of
Mm.
whatever it was back in the day, hash or whatever, maybe a couple of drinks, but it was never extreme. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And
Mhm.
it's actually funny now because I haven't like I love my brain. and so it's funny because people will say like, do you want to have a drink or do you want to go for drinks or something like that? And it's like, no, why would I want to do that? Like once you discover
Yeah.
you have these abilities and you love your brain or you love the fact that you have these abilities, right? It's like you don't need to.
Yeah.
You know? Like I don't need to drink because I'm high on myself. Like I know that I don't
High
mean that
on
in a
life.
narcissistic way, but you know what I'm saying. Like you know,
Yeah, I get
I
you.
have a great time.
High on life. High on life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Catherine
Oh
is the
right.
party.
Yeah. But but as far as like when I see now the other thing is that as I became a mom, right? And you
Yeah.
don't I have 3 kids, and I was fairly young, when my first child was born. I was 24 and I was a single parent. So
Mm.
you don't have a lot of time for the paranormal or anything like that. You're busy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and so um the paranormal or supernatural or whatever. I mean, you've got senses, but you're not sitting there focused in on all of that, right? You don't have time for that. Um, but as my daughters, got older and my son was born, when my son was born, we had moved houses, like I had said. We had moved from that one house to another house.
Mm.
And then when my
Okay.
son was born, he was about a year and a half, and we had noticed little things starting to happen, and that's actually in the house that I'm living in now. Um, but we had noticed
Mm.
little things happening, and then when he was about a year and a half, he was in his crib, and he was getting night terrors every night. And of course, like I'm
Oh,
trying to work, and every night he's screaming and waking
sure.
up in the middle of the night, and I would go in there and rub his back and rub his back, And then one night I went in and he's screaming and I said, "What is wrong? Like, what is wrong?" The man, and he's pointing in the corner. The man, the man, the
Oh.
man. And I was like, "Oh my God." So put him back down to bed. The next night, the same thing. The man, and he's pointing in the corner. The man. So I turned to the
Mm.
corner and I said, "Get the F out of my son's room right now." You
Right.
know what I mean? And there so
Yeah.
imagine with his little hands on the crib, and he's looking and he's like this watching
Mm.
all the way to the door, and he's looking behind me as he's watching. And I was like,
Uh.
"Oh my God." Right? And so it was
Right.
almost like that in that instant, I knew that we needed to explore more of this because we had already dealt with the stuff at the old house. Now we come here and things are
Right.
starting up again. And that's when I started really looking around. But my, um, my introduction to the paranormal and doing readings and really starting to explore my own gifts, I was kind of thrown into the paranormal world, whereas a lot of psychics or readers or advisors, they have their start outside of that. Maybe they do readings, or maybe they you know talk to dead people or whatever it was. Mine was like, oh, look, there is an apparition full blown right freaking in front of me. And I remember seeing
Mm,
like because as we know, the paranormal world or the supernatural world isn't just dead people.
yeah,
There's a whole world
true,
out there.
true.
There's a whole
Hmm.
world. And, and that's how I started, right? I remember sitting there and I was in somebody's kitchen and we were doing an investigation or we were doing the prelim of it, and there was this big blue worm. I it sounds crazier than shit, but there was this big blue worm that just kind of slid its way through the house. And I was like, am I crazy? Like, am I seeing, like, what the hell is going on? In the early days when we started investigating, like as a team, like I said, they were already established, so they had a medium on their team.
Yeah,
And I didn't join in as a medium originally. I joined as an investigator, right? But I was always writing things down. And so
sure.
as we were sitting there, I wrote down what I saw, and when we left, I said, I've got to tell you guys something. There was the craziest thing that I just saw. And they said, did you write it down? I said, sure, did. Big blue worm. And sure enough, the other medium wrote down big blue worm. And so
Interesting.
we were see I don't know what it was. I don't know where it came from. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It was just, but it was the craziest thing. But
Now,
so those were things that how I started seeing it, right? But when you ask if I see them with my eyes, I did originally. And then because I was having trouble differentiating between reality and this, okay, is this a ghost or is this a person? Because sometimes I couldn't always
okay.
tell. And it was really interfering with my daily life. And I just said, no, enough. So, yeah.
We have a request from the chat. This is my
I
friend
so
David
understand I
sending this
don't
from.
actually do stuff like that. So, if somebody was to come for a
Okay.
reading, if you were to ask me a specific question, I could look into that question, but
Yeah.
I don't do generalizations on that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like if somebody says,
So,
hey,
David,
blah,
if you
blah,
have a
blah,
specific question,
yeah,
yeah.
I might be able to do that, but I'm not a general reader. And the reason for that is because most of my readings are done like in actual sessions. And so I'm very concentrated on that person at that time or the energy around them. So I don't, but the other thing is too, is one of the main things that I really try to place my boundary on
Mm,
is as a psychic or as a medium, you have to live your life. And if I was just sitting there going,
yeah.
oh, I feel this, I see that, I do this, I do that, I'm not living my life. I'm not involved with my children. I'm not involved with the things that are enjoyment to me. You know what I'm saying? And so I really keep my boundaries up when I'm not working, I guess. When I'm working, I'm working. I'm fully open
Yeah.
to to the supernatural paranormal world. So when somebody
Gotcha.
books a session with me, I'm right there. Absolutely. But if I don't have boundaries, and I found that before in the past, if you don't have boundaries, you're really opening yourself up to a lot, and not all of it you really need. I'm a very strong energetic reader, I guess is the best way to say it. So that's how I work.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I get that.
Mm.
Um, there was, let's see, someone said something in the chat and it sparked a question, and I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. Um, yes. Well, Hillbilly Herb completely agrees with you, as do I. You gotta have those boundaries. Oh yeah, that's actually happened to me, where, and you probably had this happen too, where the client, whoever it might be, suddenly thinks you're their best friend. And they call you all the time. You know, it's like, no,
Yeah.
that's, you know, a daily report isn't really helping your case or mine.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and
or
it's
and they get
really
start getting
hard.
personal.
Yeah, yeah. Especially like the thing is a lot of people don't understand, especially like for parents. It's like when you're doing readings themselves, obviously, it's my living, it's what I charge all of that. You know what I mean? So I'm very engaged
Mm,
at that time. When you're doing a paranormal investigation, people have to understand you're a volunteer. You're doing this on your free time, on your own time. You're putting in at the time when you're there with the clients, you are putting in your 100% while you're there. But at the end of the day, when you go home, you're at home. You have to have your boundaries. And if you don't have your boundaries, people
yep.
are going to take advantage of you, or the supernatural is going to take advantage of you. Right. And when
Yes.
and
Yes.
if you don't have those, it's like I said, it's like when I'm not working, I don't care what somebody's great fucking grandma is doing. I don't care. Like that's not my thing. I have gone for lunch with my
Yeah.
friends or people, and somebody will appear, like like a relative will show up, and I will more than happy share whatever information needs to come through at that time. You know what I mean? But they
Hmm.
also understand, like, to some degree, um, because when you're speaking with the dead, for the most part, they have a good understanding of boundaries. Like, you can say, okay, I tell me what message you need to pass on, or what is it that we're doing, or whatever. And I remember we were sitting there having lunch one day, and I said to the lady I was with, I was like, okay, I was like, do you know this older man who passed away and he can't talk? He keeps pointing to his throat. Like, I feel like he can't talk, but he's like pointing at his throat and pointing to his watch, like his wrist, like where he would have a wristwatch, and then he's flying out a window.
Okay.
And she's like, I know exactly who that is. She goes, that's my grandfather. And he used to tell me not to, he used to tell me time passes too quickly all the time. But he also had throat cancer, so he couldn't speak.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, all right. So basically,
Huh.
there was no big message behind it, but basically, what he was telling her was something that she would recognize from himself, right? Like, she knew that it was him, and so
Mm.
that's all the message that she really needed from him was that something that he used to repeat to her all the time.
Huh. Okay. I get that. Oops.
Hmm.
I mean, that makes sense. Um, tact. Oh, okay. Well, you asked for a specific question, and now I don't know if I should share it, but I will. Uh, David feels he may be under attack spiritually.
Something like that is a little bit harder, more to look into. I'm not trying to not look into that, okay? but but you have to understand that a spiritual attack, something from like a spiritual attack, first of all, that's not something. I work from a place of light. So
Yeah.
I don't like to deal with negativity or negative. I'm not one of those people that gives fear in my readings. Like, when I do a reading, it's not fear based. And so talking about spiritual
Okay.
attacks is not something that I would never say to somebody. I feel like that you're being like, that's just not part of who I am as a reader. Okay.
Okay.
I would say,
Yep.
however, if you are feeling like you are being spiritually attacked, then you definitely need to work on cleansing your own energy in regards to that. And there are ways, obviously, to do that. To be perfectly honest, a lot of people tend to think that something like spiritual attacks or whatever are these big, complicated, you know, sessions that people need to do, or that they need to spend thousands or whatever, hundreds of dollars, or, do the hokey pokey and, whatever, shake a bunch of troll dolls or whatever it is. But quite
Yeah.
honestly, a spiritual attack is an attack
Troll
upon
dolls.
your personal space, right? And so we can remove that. Not me, I mean, we as humans, we can, generally remove that. First of all, we have to remember that everything has to do with energy, and it has to do with the energy that we're placing out into the universe. Okay, what we are asking or what we are giving out there is going to affect us. And so if we're coming from a place where we're like, well, I'm being attacked, I'm being attacked, I'm being attacked, guess what's going to happen? We're going to be attacked, right? Because we're open to it. If we say, I am strong within my energy, I am, my soul is strong, I am protected by God, I'm protected by my guides, I'm protected by my angels, then guess what? That's a place that we're going to come through. So that's basically, it's creating our own energy. It's cleansing our own energy, and we don't need to come from that place. I know that I hear about people being, attacked and stuff like that. And quite honestly, I've had that, to some degree happen as well. And it's a horrible feeling, right? But at the same time, once you recognize it, you can start to cleanse it. And that's the main thing that you do. And it's by staying strong within you as a person, within your faith, whatever your faith is. It doesn't need to be of any particular, you can have faith in a water bottle as long as you have faith in it, like it's your faith. You know what I mean? Have faith within yourself, right? But
right.
it's that's basically how you start to cleanse things out. So for sure. What does Hillbilly say? I've been whammied a few times. Shower and picture a bubble. Absolutely, a bubble around me. Though that actually truly does help when you can create that kind of bubble, or even when you shower, imagine everything just cleansing off of you, and imagine it. It might take a few times to do, but it's within yourself to be able to do it. Yeah.
One thing, David mentioned JJ Rose. That's my partner in Scary.
Oh, okay.
She's very very powerful psychic, very much like yourself. Also a light worker. What she has me do, and David, if I'm going to recommend anything at all, what she has me do, she has me take a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of salt, and you kind of rub it on your feet in the tub. Obviously, don't walk around like that. Yeah. Soles of your feet, and then kind of a little bit all over too, just as a rinse, kind of a poultice type of deal, and then you can shower off, and that should help.
Yeah.
It helped, and we do. I use that practice when I come home from especially really dark, or just investigations where we're encountering some really dark stuff. So I do that. It's just a personal little cleanse. Yeah, it's really effective. At least I feel it's effective. It could be a complete placebo. I don't know, but it works for me.
But here's the thing. It's not really a placebo because of your mind, right? Again, we got to go back into the mind. What is our mind allowing us to be in the place of or believe? And so when we can come from that place of believing or feeling safe, then we're going to feel safe. Nothing can really touch that. Our own energy is so strong. But in regards to the bubbles, one of the exercises that I have taught people is basically to create your own energy bubble, right? And as you're creating, you can actually expand it out and just continue to kind of create and create and expand that bubble. And you can expand it from the top of your head to the soles of your feet. And now basically you're in your own energy and you're not allowing anything to penetrate that. It's a really good trick.
If it helps. Yeah, it's a great trick. Yeah.
It's
Very
really good,
true.
especially for people who are empathic and have a hard time going to like public events like shopping malls, let's just say, that kind of. So when you can bubble yourself and you can go and you make sure the soles of the feet, the top, the crown of the head, right? Now
Sure.
you can
Right.
basically go out and you're not really being affected by all of the empathic energy that you're receiving from those around you. And it really
I
makes a
do
big
that.
difference.
I do that quite often.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It really does. The
Yeah.
I was gonna further recommend that if you want a visualization, I know David's a Star Trek fan like me, so put up your shields. And actually, they actually discovered that the human individual actually has said bubble around them already. You just have to reinforce it. I mean, it's an energetic awareness, bubble of
For
awareness.
sure.
You probably heard
Yeah.
some people say, don't get in my personal bubble." That's basically
Mhm.
what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Hard
Absolutely.
pass on shopping malls. That's pretty funny.
Bubble up for the grocery
That's pretty
store.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's good stuff.
Another really good trick though
um,
too is the mirror effect, right? And especially I like using the mirror when you're dealing with, let's say, difficult people. So let's say if you work in an office where there's somebody who is a difficult person, or maybe you got to
yeah.
deal with the in-laws and they're difficult. Imagine yourself surrounded by mirrors that you have access to see through, but basically what they're receiving is a mere reflection of themselves. And so when
Well, the
they're
mirrors
making
are facing
you more
outward.
nasty,
Yeah.
it comes back, right?
Right. Right.
And
Gotcha.
that can
No,
really
that's
go.
a good technique as well.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, definitely.
I hope we were able to help a little bit there, David. Someone said something about the concern they had earlier, and then they dropped off the face of the earth. So I hope
Yeah, I
that gets
saw that.
resolved. Um,
Yeah.
they needed some sort of guidance or something, but they're gone now. But at least they're not showing. I haven't received anything from them. But as we move forward, so okay, so yes, you see people that maybe aren't there to everyone else's perception, which is fantastic. One of my main fears when I decided to do this, and I confronted it, this is a paranormal investigation. It was the fear of actually seeing the bloody ghost, the with the knife sticking out of their head, kind of a deal. So I went to a group of psychics, all men. Interestingly, I found that super
Really?
fascinating. Usually it's women, but
Yeah.
all men. And I was like, oh, okay, little man club. That's cool. So they put me into a light trance, and they asked me questions, and they said, okay, so basically you need to face this fear. I understand. I don't want to see bloody people either. And one of
Mhm.
them piped up and said, listen, I've never seen a spirit that looks that way. Usually they, unless they were dropped into a wood chipper or something like that. But even then, I've never seen a spirit say that. They say, well, this is how I die, but they don't look that way. They look normal. And it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So I finally, they bring me out of the trance, and okay, look around. I know I got spirits walking around this property, so I look around, and sure, right over there, I'm like maybe 15, 20 feet away, there's this humanoid form, and there's this huge. We did this thing outside. There's this huge bush. I don't know what it is. It's a flowering plant, but it's gigantic and out of control. And this thing's trying to hide behind it, but I could see it in its entirety, And it was this kind of ghostly, see-through body, but it was a human form, but that's all it was. It was just a human form,
Mhm.
and it was filled with like staticky TV snow from back in the day, you know, but muted to a degree. But he was a little bit aglow, but he was trying to peek out and hide from me. I was like, I see you over there, and then he started throwing rocks at my feet.
Started doing what?
And throwing rocks at my feet. You're all sitting around this circle, and all these rocks just started chucking in. It's like tick, 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 tick.
That is
Good
so
times.
funny. One of the
But
things that I did
yeah,
is
it was pretty funny.
like I said, I really had a hard time with seeing things in person. And so, here's the thing is our guides are amazing. Like our spirit guides, and they get really excited, when when we start opening up to our abilities, because everybody has abilities, right? But they get really excited about it. But the thing is that sometimes they can get a little bit over eager, at least mine were. And I was like, okay, look it. I love this. I love this, guys, but I don't want to see anything with my eyes. I don't, because I got to live my life. I've got kids I got to take care of. I got to, at the time I had a job that I got to do. Like I don't have time for this junk. You know what I mean? Like I can't. I don't have. I've got to. I can't be in a place where I can't determine whether somebody is real or not real. And I remember my daughter and I were in Canadian Tire. I don't know if you're Canadian or not, but we were in this like Canadian Tire store. It was like a big Walmart, I guess. And we're walking through, and I walk by somebody, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me." My daughter's like, "What the hell are you talking about? Like, who are you talking to?" To me, I, I saw them, right? And she's like looking at me like I completely lost my mind. So, I said to my guides, look it, enough. Like I can see in my head just as well as I can see with my eyes. And I don't need to see with my eyes. And I only need to see who I need to see. I don't need to see all the dead people. I don't need to be like the kid from Sixth Sense. Like I don't need to do that. I need to see who is important, like who, if I'm doing a session with somebody or if I'm doing an investigation, then they can appear. Or if it's important or imperative that I see who they are. Absolutely. But I don't need to see all the dead people walking. Like I have to live my life. And, this is where our guides are just brilliant. Like they really are, because when you give them specifics, they can adjust your energy to those specifics, right? And so I recommend to everybody, start talking to your guides. Like if you want to learn something, or you got to remember, this is the amazing thing that I've learned about our guides too, is that let's say we've all got our own set of guides. Okay. And it can vary. It could be 1, 2, 3. It could be like a whole football team. It's really up to the individual as to how many we have, But the thing is that other guides do come in at various times throughout our life to help guide us. Okay. So let's say I need to do or learn something specific. Well, a guide will come in at that moment to help me for that particular, time period. But the amazing thing is too, is let's say I said, I want to learn the ukulele. And I love guides. I don't really want to learn the ukulele, by the way. I'm just saying that. but what they can do is they can actually expand themselves out to help find somebody who will teach me what it is that I need to learn or what it is that I need to develop.
That's fantastic.
So all we have to do is, again,
I didn't
just
know that.
ask our guides. What's that?
I said I didn't know that before. That's fascinating.
Well, if you've ever been in a place where, synchronicity really starts kicking in and you're like, wow, everything is so synchronistic. What do you think that is? Right? It's our guides. It's the universe. It's all adjusting to our personal energy. The reason that things have that ability to be synchronistic is because of the fact that we're open to the synchronicity, and where it's our guides that are bringing it towards us. So.
Okay, that's fantastic. I never really thought of it like that before. That's great.
Yeah, it's kind of the supernatural or the paranormal or the metaphysical world is amazing and beautiful at the same. You know what I mean? Like it can truly be amazing and
Yeah,
beautiful. Right? Like it really is. We just got to be
it truly is. Have
yeah.
mm, I missed that? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said it can be truly amazing and beautiful. That's all. That's what I was basically saying. Like the metaphysical world can
Oh,
be
okay.
absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Gotcha. I did get that part. What was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? Oh, when you have okay, so you said at one point, and I don't know if you're still doing this, you're receiving some future or precognitive information. Um, what do you see for us as humans, like globally, in the next 5 years, if you have that ability?
I have the ability, but I don't know how many people would like to hear it. Because no, well, the thing is, it can be very political and dividing.
Oh, I
And I,
see. I see.
yeah, and
Okay.
I
I
think
tend
that
to like to keep politics out of my show. So.
absolutely right. And I think that a lot
Got
of
it.
I think that we need to be more open to the metaphysical, or into, I guess, more of the spiritual right now. And I think that the stronger
Mm,
that we become within ourselves, let me just say this as a bit of guidance or future whatever. I feel like
mm.
humans are going to become very, very, very in tuned with themselves and in tuned with nature and in tuned with the environment, over the next, let's say, few years. I feel like the ones that are going
Excellent.
to be viewing things on a 3D only level are really going to struggle, and they're really going
Okay.
to maybe have a lot of difficulties. And it doesn't mean that you need to
Okay.
be in a place where you're like, oh, I see dead people, but you need to be in tune with
Mm,
yourself, and you need to listen.
mm.
You need to really, really listen to what your intuition is telling you, not the media, not the
Yeah.
influencers, not, whatever it is. You have to start listening to and hear. And if it sounds wrong, listen to that. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. If it doesn't sound right, there's a reason for that.
Mm.
So, and if you're doubting what you're hearing, or if you're doubting what you're feeling, ask your guides. And you can ask your guides, in the extent, because here's the amazing part, is that when we ask our guides a question, we get the answer almost immediately, like literally within seconds. But the problem is
Yeah.
as humans, we usually don't like the answer. So we'll sit there and we'll find a way around it. But our guides have answered us, right?
Gotcha.
So you could
All right.
say, is so and so a good person? Boom, we're going to hear that answer. It might not come in as yes or no. It might
Oh
even become
yeah.
a little bit more, convoluted to some degree, but they're giving you an answer and you have to listen, because the problem is that we as people are like, I don't like that. Bleh. So, you know what I mean? We don't want to hear it.
All right.
Right? We make up our own junk in our head. But yeah, if you that would be the biggest piece of advice that I have for right now, is absolutely don't you're not listening to others around you. Stop listening to, you know, don't make your opinions from the news or social influencers. Don't listen to a particular party or a particular way. Listen to what it is that you're feeling on the inside, and ask yourself, with every point that's coming across to you, how do I feel about this? And if your answer is coming from someone else, then that's not the right answer. You got to listen and hear. And then you can go from there moving forward. There's
Excellent,
a lot of chatter right now, right? There's a lot of chatter. And on both sides of the spectrum and all over the place, there's a lot of chatter. And so, the reason that there's a lot of chatter is because it's very confusing for us. And so, it's like one day this is good, next day this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this person's good, this person's bad, but it's changing all the time and it gets very confusing. But if you stop and you just go, where's the truth in this? You're going to know, you're going to hear it.
Yep.
And that's going to be
if you don't
probably
believe
the best
Cathryn,
guidance moving forward. What's that?
I was going to say, if you don't believe Cathryn, you can believe Starship Troopers.
There you go.
I say that because Hillbilly Herb threw this quote up from Starship Troopers. Not to make light of what she's saying, she's absolutely correct. But Hillbilly Herb, you're a crack.
I love that. I love that quote. I've never heard that before. So that's a I don't know who Starship Troopers are, but I love that quote. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a movie from
right?
the 90s or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like over the next few years, we're going to be inundated with so many things that are going to be confusing for us. And I mean, just on this, let's just say on the supernatural level, I mean, they're already talking UFOs, you know what I mean? There's been so much, talk about that. People are now claiming, like politicians are now claiming, all of these, whatever that now I'm not saying it's not true or anything like that, because I truly don't know, but at the same degree you got to ask yourself, what are you distracting us from? And so
very good,
right? And so is this a true event or is this a distraction? And you got to ask yourself that, right? Because the answer isn't going to come from your politically motivated friend or from the news or from, like I said, influencers or whatever it is. Ask yourself, how do I feel about this? How does this make me feel? And I think that through that process, you're really going to discover a lot of things about ourselves. And it's really funny how the other thing I'm going to suggest is lose the ego, because ego is what keeps us stuck. And when we know that something is wrong, if we're stuck in a paradigm or our own, our own energy or our stubbornness or whatever it is, right? And we see the truth right there, but we're like, no. That's basically not moving us forward. It's okay to let go of the beliefs of the media, and it's okay to let go of the beliefs of a lot of these influencers or whoever it is that you're, you know what I mean, that are basically trying to get you to think a particular way. So if you can let go,
you hit the nail on the head with that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's it's not an easy process, right? But it's okay to say.
Right.
It's okay to say I think I was wrong. And when you can do that, you've now opened yourself up to allow the truth to come in. However, whatever that truth is.
I hear you. All right. That's good stuff. Cathryn, thank you so much for being on the show with us. I would like you to inform our audience of where they can find you and or reach you or both. So the platform is yours. I'll give you a little close-up and everything.
So you guys can reach out to me at www.oracleintuitions.com. I do personal readings there. I do 1 hour readings, half-hour readings. You can just check out my website. You can look me up on Facebook. I'm under Oracle Intuitions on Facebook. I'm also under Cathryn Rogers on Facebook. If you want to just add me as a friend, go right ahead. And so one of the other things I do as well, besides doing readings, is I do resin art. I'm going to show you one thing before we go, because I know that you were talking about this, Tim, like on the show with Linda. And you guys were talking about Ouija boards. So I'm just going to show.
You do Ouija board? Yeah.
I make them. I sure do. Yeah. So this is just a sample. This has the amethyst in it. I use all kinds of different types of crystals. So I do make these. This is something that you can contact me about if you're interested. I will let you know that when I do make my Ouija boards, I actually infuse them with like 432 hertz, just simply because I do try to keep them as spiritually clear as possible. Like I said, I work from a place of light, not the dark, right? And so everything that goes into the board is of the light. I guess that's the best way to say that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah. So like I said, they've got the amethyst, this one in particular, it's got the amethyst here, the amethyst here. They have the black velvet on the back. The planchette has crystals in it as well. And they do glow in the dark. So yeah, if you're interested,
that's great.
If you're interested, contact me, and I do ship internationally. So I can custom make however you would be interested in having one, and we can pretty much use just about any crystal that interests you. So yeah, absolutely. So that's it. That's my spiel for myself.
The pitch is over.
Yeah. Commercial done.
Cathryn, once again, thank you. Right. Cathryn, thank you once again for being on the show.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
Okay. It was wonderful for me too. Stick around after the show. We'll have a quick little goodbye. Everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching, listening, and participating in the chat. My name's Tim Sedano. This is Paranormal Insight, and we'll see you next time. If you have a paranormal experience that you would like to discuss on the show, please email us at paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com. That's paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com.